I've had people in music approach me and tell me, you should probably consider being more sexual, showing more skin. I've been kicked out of clubs. I'll fight a in the club. I would hope that people listen to my music and would think like, oh, you don't have to go and be walked all over. It's not clocking to him. I got a big and I'm with my girl all night long.
Do you play Super Smash Bros?
Love it. Yeah.
Which game do you consider the best?
Melee.
I will destroy you at Melee.
I feel like that song, I'm just saying, you. I don't care what you want. I'm a different than what you want, and I don't care. I am a little high right now, too.
Oh, you're so sweet, I swear. Te mando un besito.
Disco Acid Cult TV. We are joined today by Hannah Dolla. Thank you very much for being here with us.
Thanks for having me, Beckett.
You are a singer based out of Los Angeles.
I'm a singer and a rapper, and I produce a little bit here and there.
Right on, right on, right on. Where does the name come from?
My name is Hannah Dolla. But basically, so my name's Hannah Dolla, and when I was like 15, one of my friends in high school just was like, you should make your name Hannah Dolla instead of Hannah Dolla. And I was like, that's a great name. So I just made that my name and I stuck with it like all throughout college. It was my name. Like I always made music. Ever since I was like 20 or 21, I started recording, but I never released anything, never really took it seriously. And then, yeah, I was like, oh, I don't even need to change my name because this is a perfect name for being a rapper, to be honest. So yeah, so that's kind of where I got it. Shout out my homegirl, Alexandria from LA.
That is really cool that you pretty much, it sounds like you switched one letter from your last name to your
name.
Artist name.
Yeah, it was a really easy transition.
When did you decide you want to start making music? Like, do you remember what age or what time you said, I want to do music, basically?
So when I was 16, I got the Lil' Kim album, The Notorious Kim. And that album changed the course of my life. I honestly feel like after hearing that, I just never heard women. There was Nicki Minaj who was popular, like Iggy Azalea, whatever. But I just didn't think that there was anyone as hard as Lil' Kim that I'd ever heard. No one in my family had ever played her for me. And I just was like shocked at her telling men to suck her dick and like do all this iconic stuff. And I don't know. So I just thought from there, this is really fun. This is cool. And I would write lyrics and just mess around. I never really thought, because I'm Persian and I'm white, and I just didn't really see myself pursuing it because there's no one that looks like me doing it. But I guess like as the years went by, I just thought I really like doing this. I love making music, started recording for fun. I have some friends that produce for me. And then I kind of just bought my own equipment. It was really like the peak for me was when my mom passed away in the end of 2022. Like after that, I felt like I was kind of actually working a 9 to 5 and trying to do like the business, the normal route. I always felt like there was something kind of more in store for me, or like a creative path that I wanted to follow. But I guess I didn't really feel like I had the confidence to do it until my mom died. And then I just thought, screw it. Like, this is my life. I'm going to make something. I want to make something out of this. So, and I just said, whatever, started releasing music, and that's that. So now I just want to pursue that.
That's cool that you even have an album. I feel like everyone that plays music has, like, not necessarily an album, and I only say that because mine is kind of sillier, but everyone has like one piece of work that kind of changes things. Honestly, for me, it was School of Rock with Jack Black.
Love that movie.
When I first saw that movie, I bought an AC/DC shirt and got in trouble. I went to a Christian school and I got in trouble at school, and that was like my whole thing too, was there's like one piece of art that I can point to as, oh, this is what I want to do now, basically.
Freddie was my first crush, by the way.
Okay. That is hilarious.
Spiky, blonde-haired Freddie. Yep, that was my first crush. Like, I think.
That is really funny. Yeah, he was a funny character. I love that movie. I think I just watched that movie like a couple weeks ago, even honestly.
I almost watched it yesterday, so it's funny you mention it, and now I'm gonna watch it probably like after this.
Yeah, it's a perfect movie. Never a bad time. Feels good. What are your or who are your biggest influences? Well, I guess two-part question. Modern day artists, what do you listen to today? I guess like three or four-part question because there's
Mhm.
kind of a difference. I think. What do you listen to today, and what inspires you today? Like, what do you take from? You're always taking things from pieces here and there, and there's a lot of music I listen to. I wouldn't take from creatively, but just that I like. So, yeah, what do you listen to today? What do you like? What do you take from? And then I guess both of those questions, but older. Like I like a lot of older, anything from like the 1920s all the way up until today. I listen to more older music than I do current music. So yeah, all of that, all in one, if you can.
Yeah. Okay. So the first part, I feel like my number one influence has been and always will be Lil Kim.
Mhm.
I think she's a blueprint for everyone. Although I really like Krayshawn, remember like the Gucci Gucci song? She honestly has some other hits that I feel like have not really received the justice that they deserve. But like, I think those are two really iconic people that just say what they want and beat to their own drum. And I love and respect that. Um, I love Father, the rapper. I had mentioned him earlier. I just feel like he's great. I love like Nico B, who's out of Milton Keynes in England, but he's got like a very cool kind of storytelling aspect to his music. I do listen to all these people all the time. I really like music from the 20s as well. I've been listening to this artist named Lucille Bogan, who is this just like bad bee who all of her music is about sex, but came out in 1928. Like there's this song called Till the Cows Come Home, and she's basically talking about how she wants to be, getting it in till the cows come home. And just, I don't know, there's like a lot of influences, but I love, like kind of a theatrical vibe these days. I feel like that's more like an instrumental, like a score to some type of movies. Like that's what's been inspiring me recently. But, anything that's like really strong female. I feel like there's so many great strong female artists. Someone random. She's from like the Netherlands or God, maybe we have to edit this out because I don't know what part of like Europe she's from, but this artist named Annie, who is like a pop singer. I don't know why I love her so much. Random or like Amy Winehouse, of course, is iconic. I feel like a lot of those kind of raspier vocals call to me because that's more like in my range. So I'm always like, oh, that's a cool note they hit. Maybe I can try and like branch off of that and make it rappable somehow. So, but definitely the number one, there's no better female rapper in history than Lil Kim. I don't think any single person, any female rapper that's popular today is either intentionally or unintentionally using the style that she, I think, like is one of the spearheaders of, if not the spearheader of. Although like you got to give props to like TLC and Missy Elliott and a lot of other people. Even like Foxy Brown, I don't love her that much, but all these people like really shaped what is still popular. And I think men's rap music has evolved so much where you don't really see as much evolution. If you look at it from like Lil Kim to now, it's kind of the same thing. But men, it's like there was no one like Playboy Cardi in the 90s. I don't think there's a single person that would be comparable to like Comethazine or Playboy Cardi or like a lot of these kind of mumble rappers, but they're still really popular. So people can knock mumble rap all they want, but they're millionaires and their music is topping the charts. So, yeah.
Yeah, that is a good point. People like to talk shit about. I think you said mumble rap specifically, but they're all millionaires, and that is something I try really hard to do. About I talk a lot of shit about, especially a lot of music today. I'm not a fan of, but then I have to kind of turn around and say, well, they are millionaires, and I'm not a millionaire, so obviously, they're onto something that I'm not quite onto yet. So I do think that's always a good point to point out, no matter how much. I think it was Gene Simmons from Kiss who said, it's the masses who decide what's good. He was doing an interview with somebody, and obviously the guy conducting the interview was a big, rock and roll guy, and Justin Bieber got brought up, and the interviewer was like, "Oh yeah, but Justin Bieber sucks." And I think he expected Gene Simmons to say, "Oh yeah, fuck Justin Bieber," but no, Gene Simmons said, "No, the guy's, the masses decided he's great. He's obviously doing something right. You might not like it, it might not be for you, but you can't say that he's an objectively shitty artist. It's obviously, aside from the whole argument that all art is like subjective or whatever, but
It's not clocking to him. It's just not clocking to him.
Is that a thing, dude? I swear I've never heard that term used like that before.
I've never heard it. I've heard like I clocked that. She clocked that. I've never heard it's not clocking to that. But I love it. It's kind of like my phrase of the week right now.
Yeah, it's definitely going to become a thing. People are going to, I mean, I think it already has. Because, yeah, to me, the way he's using it is like you're not understanding, right? It makes me think of like when I was struggling in math. If somebody was like, do you see how this problem or this equation was done? And I go, oh, yeah, that totally clocked to me just now.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's like he's standing on business. Just that, those 4 lines. He's like, I'm a husband, I'm a father. I think it's a really iconic dialogue that maybe I'll turn that into a rap. That's kind of like if you kind of feminize that.
You should use it.
It's not clocking to you. I'm a mother. I'm a wife.
That's been like a whole kind of interesting thing to watch play out. He's really starting to get the Britney Spears. It's crazy how like media apparently doesn't learn from his past mistakes. Britney Spears was forever like tormented by the paparazzi. Obviously she goes crazy. I remember being a kid seeing all the magazine covers and the tabloids, and Britney Spears is out of her mind. And it's like,
Right.
well, it's the classic story of how they build people up and then they will just tear them right back down for entertainment. And it's like, you guys just did this to Britney Spears, like, years ago. And now they're doing it to this guy. And all the headlines are about Justin Bieber's crashing out. Justin Bieber's losing his shit. It's like, no, you guys are fucking with him. Like, you're not, leave the guy alone for like a week. I'm sure he'll do a little bit better. And, I don't really keep up on the Diddy thing. I'm honestly not all that interested in the Diddy story. I've talked about it on the channel. I think Diddy is just like one out of 1,000 guys, and like that's what people are doing in Hollywood. I talk about that a lot, actually. I'll try not to rant about this. People that watch the channel will laugh when I bring this up. I'm very obsessed with the Charles Manson story. And like at the core of that story is really like Hollywood and kind of like the debauchery of Hollywood, and how people kind of see their favorite celebrities as good people. And I'm not saying all celebrities are terrible people, but like I said, I bet you there's at least 100 other Diddies in Hollywood right now doing the kind of things that he was doing.
Yeah.
And I think once that story came out is when the Justin Bieber stuff started happening. And I feel bad for the guy. This is where I'm going with it. I feel bad for the guy because one, he has a kid now. He's a dad. And you got to think that kid's going to grow up, and you don't want your kid reading these headlines about, you and Diddy, because that's when it started. I feel like everybody started going after him for comments on the Diddy scenario. And yeah, it seems like we're just seeing Britney Spears all over again. And it's, I guess I wouldn't say that Hollywood like hasn't learned, because I'm sure Hollywood knows what they're doing. They don't care. They're just making money, basically.
I think it's the exact same thing, and there's totally, I mean, a direct correlation between the Diddy thing happening and then the crash out. And it's really intense for like, aside from the kids seeing it in 10 years or whatever, the child is not even a year old. So it's really about the parents at this point. What are they going through? And then those actions inherently like shape the child, because this baby's in an environment. We're not, we don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but most likely if both of them are around, there's probably some chaotic energy, and that's not good for any child to be fostered in, regardless of how much money they have. You can look at all these nepo babies that, like, Angelina Jolie, she's one of the most iconic women in the world, most iconic women in Hollywood especially, but she had a really traumatic childhood with her actor father and her mom died when she was young, and so there's like a lot that goes into that, and unfortunately that child might be like have issues later on in life, and it's just because of, and it's also the whatever, it's the whole family will have issues, and it's really unfortunate. So yeah, I think people should lay off of him too, and I wish that people, I mean, I hate how funny it is. I just hate how funny he is unintentionally. Even in the crash out moments, he's hilarious. Like, you can't not watch it. So there's just a whole bunch going on there. But hopefully, I feel like they're doing well. Hailey Bieber just signed $1 billion deal for her makeup. So they're basically slaying right now, even though their life is a mess. It's like 50% hell, 50% extremely lucrative and hitting successful peaks in certain ways. So
That is the, like you said, the unintentional or the cynically funny part is that he is funny and he is creating trending phrases like "it's not clocking to you" while all this terrible stuff is going on with him and his family. Yeah, Hollywood seems like a crazy place. Do you like LA?
I do. I live in West Hollywood. And I love it here. I do think it's not the same as like when Paris Hilton was in her early 20s roaming the streets and clubbing, but there's pockets that are really fun, and it takes a couple of years being here, I think, to really establish your third spaces and the areas you like and the people that you're comfortable with. But that's kind of just like in any place, but I think LA people are so fame hungry, and everyone is coming here for a bigger purpose to receive some kind of notoriety in a realm. Not everyone, but let's be real. Like most people, you don't just want to come here because you want to be stuck in traffic all day and like wait in lines everywhere, and you have bigger dreams, bigger goals. You want to make a name for yourself. So there's a lot of chaotic people that you'll meet, and energy vampires, that's where there's a huge hindrance. And then a lot of people that are going through ongoing identity crisis, and they're running out of money, and they're like looking for weird, that's how a lot of, hate to say it, but I see a lot of people become OnlyFans people and start doing stuff because they're worried about money. And so, and to each their own, do it if you want to, but like there's a lot of compromising of values for the people that are not strong-willed. So for those reasons it can be really treacherous, but I fortunately do not have those issues. And I grew up, my mom is from LA, so every summer I'd spend my summers at my grandparents' house in Marina Del Rey, and I've always been here. I was like sneaking out to go to the Hollywood sign when I was 15 and was doing salvia. I thought I was really cool. So yeah, I just always felt really comfortable here. Always knew I'd live here. But there's other places. I think if you are not able to see through what's real and what's fake and what's um, not too good to be true, but when it comes to like a lot of social people that are all talk, oh, I know this person, I know that person, I can connect you here. Like, you have to have a radar, an emotional detection skill to see. And if you can have those things or learn how to have that, I think you'll probably have a better time here than someone who wouldn't. You live in LA? Where do you live?
No, I live right outside of Sacramento, basically. So I'm like 6 hours away. I've always said I should move to LA. One of the people I stream with on here lives in LA, and she's just always up to cool stuff. Her husband is like an electrician for famous people, so she always has funny stories about him, like doing the electrical work at some rock star's house or something. I've always said I need to just like bite the bullet and move to LA. I hate hot weather. It's hot right now. It's hot right now. I'm sweating on stream right now or on recording right now.
I
And
love
so in my mind, I'm thinking, well, if I'm already dealing with California heat, like you might as well just like move to LA and try
it.
to reap some of Los Angeles benefits. But
It's not that bad weather-wise here. It's like a couple months of the year it gets really hot, but usually it's good.
yeah, Yeah, I mean, that kind of sells it to me more. When I was younger, I always, when I was younger and I thought I was cool and rebellious, I was very anti. I had the bass player from one of my old bands. Um, he got into another band and they moved to LA to like pursue the whole music thing. And I think that didn't go so well. But at the time, I was like, no, fuck all that. You don't need to go to fucking Los Angeles to be a rock star. I thought I was really cool. And now I'm like, oh, probably would be helpful. You're not going to run into anybody that's going to help you in your rock and roll career, outside of Sacramento or anything.
The connection aspect is the number one thing, but because of technology and social media, you really don't even need to be here.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you never need to be here to start anything. Coming here once you've started something, once you gain traction, I feel like is actually a better bet because the stakes here are really high. So, like, it's easy to kind of lose yourself. But once you already, you can start something and get viral from anywhere. So that's what's cool about social media is that, like, even the people that live here and end up having to move, it doesn't mean that you'll lose. I mean, you may lose the social aspect and like the new connection aspect, which is really amazing to have, I will say. Like, you meet cool people all the time, just, doing random stuff if you're in the right places. But I don't know, there's some power in being able to be anywhere. You could be in Sacramento, you could be right here, right now, and go viral, and then keep going viral, and then people will pay for you to go to LA eventually and do stuff there, and then you're getting jobs, and then it's like, okay, I think a lot of people make the mistake of not having traction and just immediately jumping all in and saying, I'm going to give up everything in my life. And I have a friend who's from out of state who has been recently wanting to do that, and but has a really good paying job, very stable, making way more money, than she would be if she was here. And there's nothing wrong with making money and starting a following, saving up, and then going. Like, if you have something good, I think it's really easy to have FOMO and, oh, the grass is greener on the other side. Look at all these people doing exactly what I'm doing. But like, I think it's great to have stability at the end of the day. I thrive on having stability. So, but everyone's different. Some people can, be like, I don't know what couch I'm going to sleep on tomorrow. And that's what fuels them to get their things done that day. For me, it's like knowing I am comfortable is like what helps me, want to keep going so I can keep that. So that's, but, a lot of people disagree with what I say. I think I'm a polarizing person. So whatever. Some people agree, some people don't.
It makes sense. I think it's also just I think it's like a super romantic idea, especially if you're into, like, I always think of the 1980s with hair metal, like Poison moving to LA from like the Midwest with like maybe a couple $100 between all four of them, and Axl Rose moving to LA from the Midwest. And that was like the thing back then, was if you wanted to start a rock band, you moved to LA and you did it with nothing. That was kind of like part of the charm, was like, we have nothing, and you show up and you just kind of, make something happen. But the unfortunate part is that, for every one of those stories, there's probably like 100 stories that don't go so well. There's this documentary called The Decline of Western Civilization, part two in particular. And it's about the hair metal scene in LA in the 80s. And it's actually really depressing. The whole documentary is it's kind of funny. It's kind of about just like the shenanigans and like the silliness of that whole time period, and how everybody was just kind of boisterous and loud, and everyone has big hair, and they're all going to clubs, and all the girls are naked, and everything's hot and sweaty. And there's a bunch of scenes with these bands, these like young kids that are in bands, and the interviewer is asking them, what are your goals? And they're like, hey, I'm going to be a rock star. I want to play music for a living. And the lady would ask them, well, what happens if if you don't make it? And all of them are like, well, I don't know. Like, one of them straight up says, like, I would die. Like, I don't know. I have no other plans. I'll live in a gutter. And it's like, it's really depressing. That one always like hits when I watch it. I jokingly refer to myself as like a failed musician because I don't play music anymore. You know, I don't play in bands anymore, but I did for a lot of years. And so I always feel like doing the move to Hollywood with nothing method. Like, yeah, imagine moving to Hollywood with nothing and like shit really doesn't work out. I guess nowadays, you know, at least nowadays you're lucky enough that you probably have a phone. You know, you could probably call your mom if shit doesn't work out or something and you can move
Right.
somewhere. But especially back then, just like getting on a bus with no phone, no nothing, and just coming to LA. You know, yeah, super romantic, but there is like the possibility that, you know, shit isn't always going to work out.
I mean, it's such a cinematic vibe. So I agree with what you're saying. But the times where that's the thing that's kind of wild is you did have the people that were really, I think like what you were saying, most of the rockers were all like coming from nothing. We don't even know anything here. We have $200 to our name, and that was kind of a lot of the people you were around. Whereas now, it's so like all industries are really muddled with influencers now. So there's kind of no escaping that element of being someone inherently. There was more of a sense of camaraderie before, like, hey, we're all here from nothing. Whereas now it's like, oh, there's one person here from nothing. Everyone else is a Nepo baby or like an influencer who now does music because they have enough money to afford it. Or like, I hate to say that, but I feel like that's what a lot of the kind of Gen Z scene is.
The influencer thing is always funny to me. It's like, you know, I mean, obviously there are a lot of influencers that I would say totally deserve it, but there really are influencers nowadays that it's, you know, it's I always see some people really give into like the trade-off. Like there really are people that want to be famous but don't want to like take guitar lessons or don't want to learn how to sing or don't want to do anything. So the trade-off is, well, I'll just let you into my life entirely. Like I'll bring my phone into the bathroom with me and record, you know,
Right.
like literally everything I have going on. And it seems to work for some people and some people it just doesn't.
I admire it to an extent because it's such a seems like a very cool, and it's not easy making content, as you know. There's a lot of thought and work that goes in behind the scenes when you're editing and doing all of that, but it's a way more enjoyable and pays more than like manual labor work or office work. So I respect the people that can do it, but it does change. It's just changed the whole landscape of what is considered. I don't even know. I don't love the whole influencer life. I think it's really annoying in the artist industry because if you're really pushing your music, you kind of have to be doing it in short form content um, to grasp people's attention, which, maybe I just smoke a little too much weed. But
Well, no, you know what's really funny? This was a question I had on the list. I'll skip to it now since we're on it, though. I was going to ask you, like, what do you think about? I see memes about this all the time. I see bands and they'll post, you know, jokes about how they're like, all I want to do is write and record music, but I now have to also become a comedian on the internet and tell 1 minute long jokes to get anybody to, you know, and it's like nobody's willing to check you out just for your music. It's like you have to also be funny. And it's like, well, what if I'm a really talented artist, but I'm not funny? Or what if I'm not attractive? Or what if, you know, this or that?
or what if you just don't want to be making these dumb videos because
Yeah.
it's not what you want to be doing? End of the day, like and that's what, yeah, so you notice a lot of the people that are good at that, that's who's getting ahead. And I respect the ability to do that and not feel mindless in doing so, because I think for me it almost takes the part of what I love about doing is like when you have to keep playing a 15-second loop on your own song a million times to get a clip. It's like this is ruining my ability to listen to this song even because I'm just always thinking, oh, I need to make something out of it. And I kind of just like to have work that just stands in itself. But yeah, it is a issue, or maybe not an issue, but it's just something you have to consider if you want to pursue music full time. Is how far are you willing to market yourself? Because that's the key to succeeding. It is.
I would call it an issue. I mean, like I said, I would imagine I'm a little bit more cynical about things than you, or like than most people really. So I would give it that word. I would call it an issue because there are a lot of you see talented people on Instagram all the time. I scroll just as much as anyone else, and you see like 13-year-olds who are like virtuosos on guitar or drums or cello or but that only has maybe a couple hundred likes, and then you find I don't know, like two girls fighting in the park, and that's got a million likes, and
Millions.
it's
Yeah. It's just the weird part of the internet where it's like 1 second you're scrolling and it's a song, the next second it's a movie clip, the next second it's self-help, the next second it's an advertisement about, hair regrowth serum. It's like there's so much information being packed into this little activity that it's just really hard to keep your attention engaged on any single thing. So it's just yeah, you got to combine all forces to utilize to get anyone to pay attention. Um, so it's just like a weird. But at the end of the day, I don't even care. And by the way, you said you're not sure if I'm as cynical as you. I'm like a little pink bitch. I know. I'm like on the surface. It's like with my pink lights and my pink everything, but you know, I can go into the depths of despair. I've been there.
yeah, hell yeah.
I feel like I help a lot of people out of it. So it's not somewhere I'm uncomfortable being. But I used to be a lot more cynical, and I try to channel it into more of just like a slightly cunty vibe instead of being all the way full cynical. But it's maybe like the more feminine way of doing it.
So far from what I know about you, I think it's working out pretty well for you, honestly.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah, we'll go full blown cynical with this one, just especially since we're on like kind of the internet social media topic. I again was surfing through your Instagram. I was trolling once we said we were gonna do this video. I found a comment on one of your posts, and it really is one of the funniest comments I've ever seen because it logically makes no sense. But somebody commented on one of your posts and said, "You'd be hot if you wore this on a date, but on Insta, nah, you not that bitch. Get good." So obviously, like I said, the logic makes no sense. What do you mean it'd be hot
Right.
if you were on a date but not on Instagram? But that, and aside from social media and the internet, and I think that kind of goes into the topic too of like being like a girl that writes and records music. In all the bands I was ever in, I never had anybody comment and be like, "No, you're not good looking,"
Right.
because I'm not there to be like, and I'm not saying you're not there to be, obviously you do whatever the fuck you want, but to me that seems like a strange world. I also I try to walk this line without like simping too hard for girls in general because I don't want to be like, yo, girls have it so hard. But it's got to be crazy to be like a musician and like put up a song and somebody's just like, oh no, you're not hot. And it's like, okay, but what about the song, brother? What about the song
Right.
that I just posted? So what, and you did reply to that guy. I was glad to see you did. But what do you think about that? And like, I don't know, do you anticipate running into that like entirely as you continue to make more music?
Yeah. Just being it's one thing to be a woman because you're already kind of highly scrutinized. You're already under scrutiny no matter what you do because there's this comparison to men made by men also to by women, men comparing women to other women and women who form competition with other women, so there's all these aspects to it. But then when you're, not to toot my own horn, but I'm fucking hot, like of course people are going to be extra having something to say about it because it's triggering you in different ways. It's like, oh, this person is first of all a woman making borderline aggressive rap music with very derogatory terms towards males and towards, people that I like to call heifers that are just like dirty ass bitches who are haters and lurking and don't have their own energy. So I think being pretty creates the element of women don't know how they feel about you, if they're inspired by you or if they don't like you, or if they want to be your friend, or if, there's all of that. But men have a kind of a one track mind. So it's almost like, oh, how can this hot girl say something like that? Or how, she shouldn't be able to say that. All she should be is her looks. And it's really easy to be defined by that because people see a face and make an assumption and have an idea about someone within 3 seconds of meeting someone. You immediately, it's like um, Malcolm Gladwell is this like psychologist, and he has this book called Blink that's all about that. How it, the perception, like that you and I, for example, like when we first got on this, within 3 minutes or 3 seconds, there's a perception you have of me that like can be changed, but there's a basis there. So first impressions really do matter in that way. But yeah, I think it's never going to end as long as I keep looking good and saying polarizing opinions in a matter of fact attitude, probably in like a pink bikini and a chain. It's, in a pair of platform boots. Like, I think people are going to keep, like going on TikTok live is it's an experience. And I've tested out many ways of doing that, like going in an outfit like this, like I would wear, or wearing a turtleneck and not showing anything, and you get the same responses. You really do, of people basically trying to bring you down, bring you onto their level because they're insecure immediately, either by your talent, your looks, your style, or a combination of the above. There's also like the personality factor. When you're a woman who really prioritizes your looks and, looking like a woman, embodying beauty, but you also have a lot to say and are not, stupid. I don't think people talk to me and think, wow, that's like a dumb LA Valley girl. So that also triggers people, especially men, especially insecure men. I mean, beta males are like, I always say one beta male can ruin the bunch. They really can. You can have one negative guy in a friend group in everyone's ear, or even just that presence can deter iconic women from being present in your life, which I think straight men and gay men alike want the presence of iconic women around. Just like how it goes. There's an energy balance that like confident, beautiful women bring. And people gain a lot from that. So it's never going to end. I'm going to keep fighting back. Probably going to keep getting banned from TikTok Live. I probably should just make a new page because they say a lot of crazy, sexual comments when I'm just on live promoting my music. And then I say something in response back, and I'm the bad guy. According to the TikTok mods, I get banned. But, my whole life, I've always stood up, stood out for things, did not care about consequences. And I've always dealt with consequences. And I'm like, whatever, this is the cost of saying what I think is right and doing what I think is right, and I'll pay the cost. I'll never sacrifice authenticity for success. So that's how I feel about it.
Right on, right on. It's funny. I always say that too. That one like shitty dude ruins a lot of things for like everyone else around. Whether it's either one drunk guy at a party or it's one guy that, especially online, the internet definitely empowers. That guy that left that comment would have never said that to you in person. Like you would have never.
In person.
Yeah.
Exactly. They would never say it. And, the funniest thing too is a lot of these people, I don't know how far back it's not been bad. I've solved all the problems. But I had like a stalker. This girl was stalking me for like a little bit over a year and a half, and would get her kind of like weird, trashy friends. There's a few people that would stalk and harass me and call me, and I would run into these people in person. They'd say nothing. They'd be silent as a mouse. I'd be right next to them. And I'm not going to acknowledge, but by all means, come up to me. Say it to my face, because I'm not the one starting problems. I don't care. I don't go around and talk about how you're my enemy. I don't know you. You're just a person I don't know who's obsessed with me. So I think, I let these people fuel themselves, because all it does is it just gives me more power. Having people be angry and jealous of you, you can look at it in two ways. Like, there are ways where I've never had a girl who was jealous of me, hating on me, look better than me, have a better jewelry, nails done, hair done, anything better than me. It's never happened. And I think those people, they have a reason to be mad, and that just means that I'm doing the right thing. Because if I wasn't looking good, being iconic, they would have no reason to notice or to be bothered by it. But the fact that existing in my own light is that irritating to people, that just says more about me than them and how I'm just doing my own thing. I don't care. People have always talked about me. When I was a little kid, on a playground, people talked about me. Went around whispering. I didn't care. High school, middle school. When I was in 6th grade, there was a group of 8th grade girls that like tried to torment me every single day. And I didn't really even register it as bullying for so long because it was like, I'm so iconic, like this doesn't happen to me. But all those girls today follow my Instagram, comment, like my pictures. They message me when they see I'm in town. Because, of course, none of them ever left town. They're all in the hometown still, dating duds, looking average, and living lives that I just don't want. So at the end of the day, I don't care. I wish them well. But I just think it's known who's doing well and who's not. And I'll respond to hate, but I won't ever propagate it. That's how I feel.
Yeah, right on. I think that's awesome. So, I guess I can try to lead that into the next thing I was going to ask, and I'm sure it's going to be a short answer. But one of my questions was going to be about, you know, like I compare everything to the world of like rock music and rock and roll, where like the larger than life, the rock star character was like a really big thing. Motley Crue, this all the stories about Nikki Sixx and like Tommy Lee doing all the
I
kind of
love those
crazy.
stories, by the way. I'm a huge Motley Crue fan.
Oh yeah, Motley Crue is one of the greatest, like one of the best pure examples of like rock and roll lifestyle ever, like of all time. And I think that's something we're like sorely lacking today. But I think a lot of what's lacking today, and where I was going to go with this is it's like the characters. No one's really like when somebody goes to see a show, nobody wants to see like Sean who works at Whole Foods on stage. No one's
Yeah.
really looking for that. But I have no problems with Sean who works from Whole Foods getting on stage and completely playing a character and then getting off stage and still being Sean who works at Whole Foods. So my thing was going to be, do you feel like you have kind of a character, or do you just think you're a you like all the way through? Like, the iconic thing, I guess. Is that actually just you, or do you think you kind of put that on in terms of music? Or is it just like you all the time, basically? And maybe during the music, you could kind of hype it up a little bit. Stone Cold Steve Austin used to always say, the best professional wrestlers are the guys. There's no fake personality, but just when they get out there, they just kind of turn themselves up, all the way up to 11. And then when they get back, they turn it down a little bit.
That's totally, I agree with that. I've always been like this. I think I am a tame person for the most part, but I have moments like I'm I definitely think Hannah Dolla's is a character, 100%. But it's like interesting because my alter ego is myself. So that's like I am Hannah Dolla's. I've been Hannah Dolla's before that was even, a character. Like before that was really established even in my own mind, let alone other people's minds. So I think it is amplified extremely when I'm doing music, when I'm writing, when I'm feeling creative, or like, a lot of it comes out when I'm feeling bothered. So I think when I'm feeling content, I'm in a good mood, I'm chill, it's still there, but it doesn't, it's not as, it doesn't need to be known as much. It doesn't require as much attention. But I think in like the face of, so like there's a more rebellious aspect to it. Like it comes out in moments where I feel like no, something should be said about this. I'm gonna drag this out, turn that up to 10. So that's really what it is. But I really don't see that as like it's interchangeable with who I am on a regular basis. So I think a lot of people might like be completely separated from their onstage persona, their artist persona. But like I feel like Beyonce, I mean, not to compare myself to Beyonce, but like she is Sasha Fierce. I think if that's her alter ego, even if she's not like doing the Lemonade album every single day of her life, that's still who she is. And it's kind of evident in the way she maneuvers herself, even though if she, rarely does interviews, but if she ever did do one, it would just be like still iconic, still there, still not putting up with shit, but just in a kind of classier, calmer way that demands less attention. I am a little high right now too. That's also just I like to smoke weed. Definitely it's all one bitch.
I guess a little bit back to just like straight up music. When you write songs, what is your what is your process? Like what do you write? Who do you produce? Who produces? That whole thing.
So it just kind of like anytime I think of a lyric, usually every day I get random ideas. So it could be a word in a song, or I mean, in a movie. Like someone says some random word in a movie. I think, oh, that's an interesting word. I look it up, and then usually I'll think of a line and I just write that down. And throughout the day, I might think of lines that work with that. I might think of something else completely different. But then when I'm in my mode to kind of like buckle down and start writing, I'll build off of those lines. But I also have like different methods of it. Sometimes it all comes at once and you just have to stop whatever you're doing and just write a whole song. And like I have this song called Beauty and the Beast with my amazing homegirl from England named DJ Callie. She's a drum and bass uh, like artist. She's amazing. But she basically sent me an idea. The beat was not done because she's a incredible producer, but she sent a loose structure of a beat. Said, "Here are two lines that I thought could work. Like, I'm the Beauty and the Beast. Which one do you want to see?" And immediately I heard the beat and saw that, and in 10 minutes wrote that song and sent it to her, sent her a version of it. And I have like a little studio set up in my apartment, so I'll record here, but most of the time, like, I would prefer to go to an actual studio with this better soundproofing, not in like an apartment complex. So there's a couple places in LA. I have a place in West Hollywood and North Hollywood. Sometimes, like, depending on other people that I've collabed with, sometimes they're like, "Hey, we're at the studio in Silver Lake. Do you want to come and we'll make something?" And I'm like, "Sure." And then you just go, you hear the beat, you get an idea, then you build off of. Usually, like, that's how I'll start. Build off of something, but most of it is like stuff that I'm feeling, or like interactions with people. A lot of experiences. Like, I go clubbing all the time. I love the club. I'm nearby a lot of clubs. Like, I can walk down the street and like know all the door guys, so I feel like I'm safe. I'm not ever worried because I know every door guy, so they're not gonna let anything happen to me, basically. But I don't know, I feel like I get inspiration when I'm out and my experiences in the club with different women or men, and there's so much that comes. Like, I really feel like I'm living my truth. I'm not writing a bunch of stuff that it's not true to my life. I am going to the club and having men spend $500 on me for no reason that I don't know, and then never talking to them again. And like, I am on yachts, I am shopping, I am wearing Chanel chains, and just cussing people out if I don't like them, and maybe had a little bit of tequila. I actually was at this club the other night. I thought we were going to a house party. We ended up going to this club that I'm banned from. And I was like, great, I'm banned, I can't go in. So there was this kind of whole issue with the door guy. So, stuff like that, where I'm like, I do get kicked. I've been kicked out of clubs. I'll fight a bitch in the club, get kicked out. And I'm not proud of that. I try to obviously, avoid those things. But if it comes to it, I'm standing on business. I'm clocking it and I'm standing on business. And so that type of thing. So I feel like I'm living my truth, and a lot of it are iconic lyrics. So I'm like, let's clock that one. Let's write that one down and then build off of it later. So yeah.
Yeah, right on, right on. Hell yeah, I think that's awesome. I was gonna say musically, earlier I was listening to I pulled up I think it's your latest thing, the Dolla's EP. The music,
Yeah.
I like the range. So Cybertruck, to me, Cybertruck sounds like a straight up early like 2010s Tyler the Creator beat. Like, it's kind of dark. And
Thank
then
you.
Coastin', to me, And again, I come up with weird. I can explain a little bit more. To me, Coast and the beat kind of makes me think of like Mac DeMarco. Like it's a very
I love that.
Mac DeMarco-ish beat. People don't always listen to me when I say this thing reminds me of that or that reminds me of this, because I get kind of like way out there. Like if I listen to like Charlie XCX, sometimes I'll get carried away and I'll be sitting there zoning out, and I will replace the drums with Dave Grohl from Nirvana on the Nevermind album. So now I'm listening in my head to Charlie XCX, and so I'll send my friends things and be like, "Oh, you might like this. This reminds me of Alice in Chains," and it's like a fucking Taylor Swift song, and they're like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" But that was one thing I noticed, was I liked kind of the range on the music of that. I do think is Cheap, I think that's the last song on the EP. I
Yeah.
think that one might have been my favorite. I liked that one the best. I thought the whole thing was good,
Cool.
but like I said, Cheap was probably my favorite. I
Thank
like you do weird stuff on that song. The I think the timing changes, like the speed of it changes and the whole pitch like changes. I like weird stuff like that. Yeah, I
Yeah.
thought the range was really cool on even just those 6 songs, and it's a quick listen. I think it's like 11 or 12 minutes. I'm a
Yeah.
fan of like good, quick. The best band I was ever in, all of our songs were like 2 minutes or less. And nothing against longer songs, of course, but just that when I was younger, that was the definition of a banger, was a song that is quick and just punches the whole time. And I think all the songs on that EP, on yours, they're quick and they punch the whole time. It's all killer, no filler, basically. It's you're getting straight to it. Here's the song. If you like it, you fucking hit replay and you get another play on it. So I liked this EP. I thought the range was really cool. And like I said, I think Cheap is probably my favorite track on the EP.
Thank you. And you know what? That's mine too. So I love that that's your favorite one. We were definitely like, so most of those, all those songs except for Cybertruck were produced by my friend from my hometown named Fedor. He's an amazing, he's just been making beats for me for a long time. We kind of like came up together. He started learning how to produce around the time I started kind of thinking, oh, I should start recording, whatever, let's bring these lyrics to life. So we have a lot of unreleased music together. And so it's just in March, I hadn't seen him for maybe a year. I'd just been in LA kind of doing stuff here, and then was in town, and he happened to have a few days off. So I was like, let's get in here and make these songs. So yeah, the night we made Coastin', it was just kind of like out of the blue. He always plays me the rap beats that he makes, but he that one came on, and I just thought this beat is amazing. I thought it was like reminiscent of Tame Impala, Mac DeMarco, that type of vibe, which I love those artists, and like that's a huge part of the music that I listen to on a regular basis. Is whatever genre would be. What would you call that genre? Like alternative indie? I don't know.
I'd say like indie-ish, alternative-ish. Yeah.
So that's like a huge. I don't know. I've always been inspired by that music, but never really attempted to sing or do anything like that. So yeah, one night it was really crazy. Fedor and we were recording, and then his friend ended up in the hospital. He had to go pick up his friend who got in a fight, bring him to the hospital, and we were mid recording. So he was like, "I'm gonna go do this." It was like 4 a.m, and he's like, "You can just stay here and like choose a beat and record." So I just was kind of messing around, thought like Coastin', whatever, thought of that melody, and then just freestyled that song. And then we polished it and reformulated it, mastered everything. But yeah, that song was created out of chaos, which is funny because it's the most like relaxing song I've probably ever made, chill song I've probably ever made, in a really intense circumstance. But yeah, I mean, Cybertruck, I just, I ended up in a Cybertruck maybe in February or something. I was like, met these cool people in the Cybertruck, and I always wanted to go on one. I was like, fuck it, I need to go twerk in this Cybertruck immediately. And then I wrote that song. Just thought like the possibility that someone is twerking so hard that they'd break the bumper off of a Cybertruck that's like bulletproof, and so that I thought was funny. Yeah, and then yeah, the rest of them were just like I wanted to do melodic stuff that is sounds pretty almost like on Cheap. I like it to kind of sound like girly, like a little anime girl, like Hello Kitty's friends would make something like a little beat like that. I don't know. Um, so yeah, he made all these beats for me, and then I just kind of wrote lyrics as we went, and then we recorded and got everything done within like a month. And I just thought, let's just drop them all together. And I'm working on another EP actually now. And I have another project I've been working on with one of my friends. We have like 3 songs together, and we're probably going to do 1 or 2 more and drop that project too, which will be fun. So there's a lot more, but I do really want to branch out into the more coastin vibe, because I come from like a line of jazz blues singers, like my grandma and all of her sisters did that, and I feel like weirdly I kind of have them channeling me, so spiritually. So I want to pursue that.
That is awesome. I was gonna ask, do you ever think you want to do something, like kind of not different than what you're doing now, but way more different? Like, do you ever think about I don't know, doing something with like acoustic guitar, or you know what I mean, like more closer to really just any other genre? In my mind, I think it'd be interesting to hear you sing something that's more toward like a like I said, like a Mac DeMarco-ish acoustic. Um, I really liked some girl singers that I like, are it's a pretty wide range. But when I think of you singing, it sounds like you have I don't want to say like a softer voice. So I would think like you ever listen to Mazzy Star?
Yeah, love her.
I I would think I could hear your voice doing something like that. I'm not trying to say, go do this or this is what you should do, but do you ever think about doing anything different? I extend my questions and rant for way too long. Do you ever think about writing different kinds of music than you're doing right now, basically?
No, you're totally fine. And I take all input. Like I'm open to hearing all perceptions of, advice. So don't ever be sorry for that. But I have a lot of stuff, like weirdly, a lot of alternative music that I've not released. And I definitely, lyrically, there is that part of me that's chill and calm and in like the depths of darkness, and is comfortable with that. So I think when I'm in those moments, writing music is what gets me through it. And whether it's like based on sadness or based on anger, it's something that it's like a channel for me. Um, so I try not to be in those moments. My mom passed away. Like I had a long time that it took me to kind of feel like, oh, life is worth living and I can keep doing this. Um, and that's, not to sound dark, take a turn, but I think it's really powerful to write music from that place, but it's really hard to stay in that place. And I'd rather be making music that makes me feel good and that makes other people like laugh or be intrigued, or maybe be like, okay, I would never say that, but that's a take. And I'm appreciate that take. I feel like it's more beneficial for me and for a lot of people for it to be more upbeat, because there's also just not a lot of, I think a lot of female rap is based on men's approval. Um, like these women are talking about how men like them more than other women. Oh, he'd choose me. I have what he wants. I feel like the first song I ever came out with, it's called Cinnamon. I don't know if you ever heard that, but you should if you haven't, because that's still like my favorite song I've done. But I feel like that song, I'm just saying, fuck you. I don't care what you want. I'm a different bitch than what you want, and I don't care. Like, you want this type of girl? That's not me. You want that? Okay, that's not me. I don't care. And I'm not trying to fit your mold. And I think more women should feel like I'm iconic, and I don't think men need to like it for me to be iconic. I don't think women need to like it. I don't think anyone needs to like it. I think people do, but um, going from a place of like, I'd rather impress my homegirls than a man any day, any day. Like, because for me, and I think men really relate to that. Men love to have women on their arm to impress their friends, right? Or like a lot of the reason why men are interested in high value women is so they can show them off to their friends. Look at this girl I'm with. And I'm like, the boys are like, wow, like giving you, I know what it's like. I've been on dates with men and double dates, and the friend is like across the table. So I think that it's a status symbol for both, but for women, it's more about, yeah, oh, I win because men like me, but I don't give a fuck if men like me. Men used to really not like me because I used to be way cuntier. And now I just I'm above it, but I'll still, go off when necessary.
Of course, you always have to when necessary. I would agree. So, what do you think about it's pretty much a meme at this point. People say that all of like female rap today, you see people complain they're all rapping about sex and pussy. Do you think that's true? Do you think that's not true? Do you think people should just like look a little bit harder? A lot of the times I complain about rock and roll is dead, which by the way I will always believe as long as the world is as it is today. But some people will argue back
Yeah.
and say, no, you're just not looking hard enough. Do you think if people think all female rap today is about sex and pussy, do you think they're not looking hard enough, or do you think there is something to that argument that that's
I,
all it's about?
the sad truth about that is that I don't think a lot of these people, even the viral songs, are getting really listened to by men. If we're looking under that scope, and I mean, I argue that too. The majority of the lyrics are about sex, right? But there's a lot of people that talk about, partying and shopping and living a glamorous life too. I think that's a huge aspect of it. But when the hooks are being carried by those aspects of sex, or like having a wet pussy or whatever, like I think that's where men are gleaming from because they're not even listening to the whole song anyway. Like what catches their ear? Not hearing about how rich the men that the girls are dating their men. I think men immediately kind of turn it inward on themselves. And that's a huge part of just women creating art in general, is men turn the focus inward a lot of the time and wonder like, how does this apply to me? Whereas like a lot of women can listen to music about men fucking bitches and being with strippers and twerking and vibe to it and not question it, not question the motive, not question the worth of the person who is saying those lyrics. Um, so I just think it's a lot more turned inward. There's always more of a debate when a woman's doing it anyway, but like Glorilla, I don't feel like that's all of her. I think she's someone who's kind of like branching out, and she talks about other things and kind of being with her girls and even being with her bros and hanging out, having a good time coming up. So there's a variety, but what tends to do the, like top, have, oh my God, I can't speak right now, but like hit the highest charts are the music where the women are sexualized, because even if men don't like the song, they like to see that. And they probably like to hear it, right? There's something in it for them, kind of regardless. So that's the thing. And I've actually had I've had people in music approach me and tell me, you should probably consider being more sexual, showing more skin, but I don't really feel like that's my brand. And I think there's so many men. There's gorgeous rappers, there's fat, lazy, unattractive rappers. There's like all types of different people, but all female rappers have to be hot to carry. Even if you're not, like Young Ma is very hot to a certain community of women, right? Like objectively, she's good looking. You don't have to be gay to be interested or be like, wow, she's hot, So all female rappers have to carry that. And I think, why should all of us, on top of having to be hot, have great bodies, be rich, whatever, da 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 da? Why do we also all have to be sexual? I don't feel like that's something that needs to define, it shouldn't be like the defining factor of fame, how far you're willing to go sexually in a public setting or in a video. But that's like what people will watch. That's what men who don't even like your music can't help but watch still. So that's, once again, I kind of dragged that topic out too, but it is something that I have been asked about a lot and think about a lot. And it's very like relevant in my life and in what I do. And I still talk about it. You know, I don't mind talking about sex. I think it's a part of life and it's a part of flexing. End of the day, like it's just a part of like the rap kind of hustle, you know, to mention it. But do I want it to be the focus of the song that, you know, I'm the best sexually and that's all that matters? Like, no. I'm the funniest bitch. I'm the bitch that brings him the most spiritual blessings when he's with me. His life is better when I'm around. Like, I can do drugs and not cuss a bitch out, or not ruin my man's life, and like we can go party and have fun. I feel like those qualities are better than being able to steal a fucking man who anyone could, any hot bitch could steal a man. That's just how men are. It's like there's always going to be hot women because on average, you know, you're scrolling, you've been on dating apps, I'm sure. It's like there are a lot of good options. When men complain about dating apps, they never say there's a lack of options. It's just the lack of communication. Oh, we matched, but I never heard anything back. With women, you hear like the dialogue, the issues are that there's not good enough options. But women, there's a lot of hot women everywhere. There's beautiful women everywhere in the world. So, but are there men everywhere that are a catch or like, you know, can provide something to improve a woman's life other than like a sexual favor? Not always. So I think a lot of that's how it is today. Like, if someone's not improving your life, then use them for what they're good for. It's what men do. So I encourage women to do that. I would hope that people listen to my music and would think like, oh, you don't have to go and be walked all over. If you are feeling a certain way, act on it. And you don't need to let it define you. It doesn't need to be your most salient quality. Just do what's fluid to you. But for me, I care more about, like, I don't know. I grew up Catholic. I'm Persian. There's certain boundaries I just can't cross, or else my ancestors will freaking kill me. You know what I mean? So I'm aware of that.
Right, right. Yeah, super true. And it's totally true. You said guys will criticize, female rappers for rapping about sex, and it's like, bro, you didn't even listen to the whole song, or you don't even listen to the music. And I don't know if that is like a guy specific thing, but I heard somebody point out another example of when the Snow White movie that just came out with Rachel Zegler.
Oh yeah.
Obviously a whole bunch of people were complaining about that movie, and I didn't see the movie. I thought it looked like trash, to be honest. It's not up my alley at all. I'm not, movies are like a whole thing for me, and I can't stand the state of cinema that we're in right now. But aside from all that, I did not go online and complain about it obsessively because I'm not going to watch the movie anyways. And basically, what this person online pointed out that I thought was interesting was all these guys that are mad about Rachel Zegler. That was the first complaint, was that Rachel Zegler was cast as Snow White, which I too have a problem with. But like I said, then just not gonna see the movie. And what this guy was saying was, dudes do this where, they're sitting around complaining about this. And it's like, bro, stop acting like if it wasn't Rachel Zegler, like you were going to go see the new Snow White movie. Like this 41-year-old man on Instagram who's complaining about Rachel Zegler playing Snow White. Were you ever going to go see it in the first place? Or were you like, just shut up? It doesn't matter. So it's, yeah. Were you ever really going to listen to all of Wet Ass Pussy and like get into it? No, you weren't. So just let the people that like it have it and just move on. And like,
Totally. Men talk about all the same stuff. I think a lot of male rappers talk about the same thing, but that's the thing, is that people aren't gleaning the lyrics and looking for those specific parts where they're like, I got a big dick and I'm with my girl all night long. Like, most of the time, I guess I don't feel like men maybe use that as much or reference it as frequently. Like, I think a lot of female rappers, like every 4 bars, they're probably mentioning something about it. But not always, though. There's a lot of people that do their own thing. But the ones that are really, I hate to say it, the most successful do. So I agree with you on that. But yeah, they never even listened to the whole thing. I think that movie just looked bad. They should have just actually hired, they should have not done CGI dwarves.
right.
That's a whole thing that ruined it. And the new Disney movies as a whole, they have their golden era. They're never going to hit that again. So this is just the product. We're just watching basically the product of them being like, we're never going to hit this peak again. Although I just found out There's this movie from 2 years ago called Elemental. It's a Disney movie. I don't know if you ever saw it. I've never seen it. Never even saw any trailers for it, but I saw the trailer today, and I'm dying to see that. It looks really good.
I did see it actually. I saw it in theater. I have a little sister. Today she is 15. So back then, this was 2 years ago, she would have been 13. I did see it. I remember I had to look it up to make sure it was the right one. But yeah, it's the fire girl and the water guy. You should see it. It was a pretty cool little Disney movie.
It looks so good.
Disney's so funny. The thing about the remakes, the live action remakes that I can't stand is that, for one, they're remaking the classics. Like
Yeah.
Snow White, literally the first, like the one that started it all. Just don't touch that and let it be. It's perfect the way it was. And I've had the same complaint ever since they tried to do, I was a big Dragon Ball Z fan when I was a kid. And, everybody remembers Dragon Ball Evolution, that god awful live action movie they made years ago. And it's today considered like
So
one of the
bad.
worst films of all time. And I'm like, dude, animation is like magic for a reason. Like, you can't take cartoons, and of course there are examples, of this. I'm also very tired of the superhero movies, but because of, my age and generation, the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man trilogy is like the greatest trilogy of superhero movies
Agreed.
of all. Yeah, that's the perfect way to do it. It should have stopped there. I was fine actually with the Amazing Spider-Mans. I did cry when Gwen Stacy died, when Andrew Garfield went to save her. That's a
Rough.
whole thing too. But yeah, so they keep doing all these live action remakes, and it's like it's not going to work. Part of the reason that the classics that are great is because they are animated. That's how it works. You can't get that same magic in a live action version after the animated version, and we certainly don't want remakes that are also animated. Like, don't even bother trying to do that. So the live action remake trend is very silly. Hollywood is I talk about that a lot on this channel too. I'm a real film nerd. I got into we talked about crazy people playing music, and I talked about how I played in bands, and that kind of led to my own problem with drugs and stuff. And so when I had to get off of drugs, and it was time to get off drugs, and I had to, you sit in your room and you withdraw for a couple weeks and you're miserable. That's when I got into like movies, horror movies specifically. One of my questions I was going to ask you is, do you have a favorite horror movie? Which I'll ask you after I finish this. But so yeah, it's the state of the superhero movies and the live action remakes. Disney is in a weird place right now because, like I just said, Elemental was awesome. Came out in 2023.
That's good.
The state of Hollywood right now is just a fucking disaster, and the state of political commentators commenting on these movies is also a disaster. Like, you guys got to chill out sometimes. Just don't go see the new Snow White. Elemental is not a gender movie. It's not, literally, it's not at all. I don't know how people even came up with that. So all of that to say, yeah, do you have a favorite horror movie? And if not, what is your favorite movie?
My favorite horror movie this is a very niche, random film, but it's this Japanese horror film that came out in 1977. It's called House.
I have to check it out.
And it's really good. It's all these girls and they go to a haunted house, but it came out before anime came out. And I think there's a lot of inspiration that they took from this movie. Or maybe like there's a lot of, I haven't seen a lot of Japanese films from that era, but it's cool. It's almost like live action anime to some extent. And I love the concept of having to do these CGI effects with real props and without any technical equipment that we have today. I think it's so interesting when they can do it successfully given the lack of tools they had. So love that one. My favorite movie is probably just, it's so hard. But I can tell you House is my favorite horror movie.
I will have to check that out. It does look interesting. I just Googled it. It's you cannot get too niche for me. I recently watched a movie called Devil Fetus. It's from I think it's from the 80s. I think it was made in Hong Kong. It was just this, 1983. This crazy movie about this girl buys an antique vase from an antique shop, and the antique is possessed, and then a demon makes these people do crazy stuff. I love all that crazy, weird. The house looks right up my alley. 1977.
You'll love it, and it's only like 48 minutes.
Oh, even better, a banger, of course.
It's so good. You'll love it.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check this out for sure. Yeah, movies are never gonna be the same. Never gonna be the same again. Like you mentioned, CGI. My favorite decade for film. People when they say what's your favorite decade, they say like 60s, 70s, 80s. I have mine down to a point. It's 1974 to 1984. And I do love everything from the 80s in particular. The 80s just feels good. Like even the music. One of my favorite bands is The Cars. I love their stuff from the 80s. Hall and Oates are awesome. Def Leppard. The 80s, everything from the 80s just feels good. And it's so immediately identifiable. Like you listen to or watch anything from the 80s, and like the second it starts, you're like, oh, that's an 80s
right
thing.
The look and the sound. I think 70s is probably mine. But honestly, like early 2000s might be my favorite. I think there are so many great films from the early 2000s and late 90s. Like I love the best movie that's like not really a good movie is Spice World. That came out in 99, I think, or 98. I don't know. I like the girly, like that rom-com era.
Oh yeah.
I think is so cute, and the color grading that they used to do, the scoring was corny but made you feel like you were in that cinematic universe. And I think there's so many issues where they're trying to make things realistic while simultaneously using so much CGI that it removes, I mean, it's just, you don't feel like you're lost in the world of the movie. You feel focused on other things like, oh, I should check my phone. Oh, I'm not intrigued by this. Let's pause it, watch something else. And a lot of it is because I think they lack spectacle. And the color grading that they do is like more bronze hued. There's like more of a sepia undertone, especially all the new Disney live action movies, which I think they should have started and ended with The Beauty and the Beast. That one was really good. But yeah, I don't know. I think the color grading and just the boring plots, the reusing of movies, and 9 out of 10 movies are remakes or trilogies from something that came out 20 years ago with the same actors that are 20 years older and with their new kids and their like elements that they add in to, cater to wokeness that don't ever improve the plot. I think there's just so many ways of making new movies and incorporating all these factors into it without tainting what was good and what also doesn't need to be remade.
I did want to bring up kind of like some funnier things.
Yeah.
I have to bring up because you have a track called Super Smash Bros.
Yes.
Do you play Super Smash Bros?
Love it. Yeah.
Which game do you consider the best?
Melee.
I will destroy you at Melee.
Melee is my favorite. I love to. I mean, it's such an easy way out is to play as Kirby. I also like to be, God, I forget his name. The PK Fire guy.
Ness.
I like Ness. I like Kirby. I do like to play as like Zelda, too.
Stop. That's what I was going to ask. Who's your main? Sheik. Sheik is my main.
Yeah.
In Melee, back when it was still one character, Sheik was my main. I do get some kill shots with Zelda, though. Zelda has a really good move. The 64 version is also one that I love. I consider Melee to be the peak of Super Smash Bros.
GameCube Melee is the peak.
Mm-hmm.
I have an OG Wii. I don't have a Switch because I don't like how small the remotes are. It's just like a whole thing that bothers me. So I have my OG and I play it on there, and that's fun too. But I miss the GameCube. Wish I could have that. I'm a huge like Nintendo Mario. I play like Super Mario Party and the Mario Galaxy games. I love those. Love Mario Kart, obviously, but yeah, Smash Bros. That's like one of the first songs I ever wrote was that song. And I made that song years ago and it has a totally different beat and a different flow. And then I ended up re-recording it a few years later because I just didn't want it to go to waste. It's like a very niche. I was not like a gamer girl, but I've always loved playing video games and Like I'm not super passionate about it, but it's one of my hobbies for sure. Is to like play the Wii games. Love them.
I was very excited to find that song in your discography. Another song you had that I was very excited to find that was going to lead into another question was Sam Puckett.
Oh my god, yes.
What is your favorite of the glory days of Teen Nick? You know, what's your favorite Dan Schneider show, realistically?
It's got to be iCarly. It does have to be iCarly because the first celebrity I ever met right when iCarly came out was Miranda Cosgrove at the Century City Mall in LA. And I just remember being so excited. And that show had just come out, so it was really cool. And I love Spencer. I love all those characters. I thought that one was actually very funny. I would still watch it today. I think all of those shows have those weird sexual undertones and like emphasis on feet and things. Where when you're a kid, you're like, why would they even put this in here? You know? But Drake and Josh is also great. Can't go wrong with that show. I feel like SpongeBob is my favorite of any Nickelodeon show of all time. But yeah, I mean, iCarly was fire. And I just love Sam and how angry she is. And that's just her brand. She can fight anyone, she will cut any bitch. Doesn't matter what their size is or like even why. For no reason, she would. And I felt like as a child, that was relatable to me. And not in that way, like it wasn't, like really squaring up, getting physical all the time. But I felt like standing up for yourself, standing up for your friends, your siblings, whatever. I always took on that role, and that was a character that was just badass little bitch. So yeah.
Yeah, iCarly I always thought was awesome. Honestly, I did of course love Drake and Josh, Zoe 101. Honestly, my favorite,
Yeah.
and I'm like one of few who I hear say this, my favorite is probably Victorious. And I say that because I still listen to Victorious music today. Like,
They have some bangers.
a lot of the songs from that show were actually really good, and I still liked. I was way too old to be watching. Like, I was in high school watching like Hannah Montana and Jonas, the show Jonas and Jonas LA, and I was like hiding it from my friends because I didn't want them to like find out that I'm like watching. I had like Hannah Montana episodes on my iPod.
I mean, they were based as teenagers. So it wasn't I feel like my older sister would watch it and I was younger, but she'd watch it with us because it is about the teen era. So it kind of makes sense. Love that show too. Hannah Montana was my favorite Disney show because who didn't want that closet, that revolving closet, by the way? And like this iconic beach house and a double life. And her name was Hannah, so everyone always calls me that. People say that a lot.
It was a hilarious show. The idea of like if you were to put on a blonde wig right now, just nobody could
No one
tell.
knows me. I know. I kind of feel that. I feel like, honestly, though, I'm so not blonde that it might work. It might work.
Have you ever done blonde?
Never dyed my hair at all.
Is that nothing?
I
Like, are
will.
you a dedicated?
I'm a dedicated brunette.
Okay.
I'm very strong into this. I think like wigs could be fun, but I I suit brunette so well that I don't know. I think a lot of people, if you want to change your hair, change your hair. But I love my hair color. I feel like it matches with my eyebrows and my eyes. I have really dark brown kind of everything. So having blonde might throw that off. And then having another hair color, my hair grows so fast because I'm Persian. So it's like you have to start dyeing it. But end of the day, all the women in my family were like, don't dye your hair. And I was like, okay, I won't.
So that does
Very
it. That's really
well.
all the questions I have written down. Anyways, I had a good time, good conversation. I guess before you go,
Too.
do you have any? I'll put all your stuff in the description, like links and whatnot. If you want, you can email me like whatever you want in there specifically. But I'll put all that stuff. So anybody here that does stumble upon this video, you can find all of her stuff down in the description. Uh, Signing off messages. I don't know. Give me a big like motivational quote or something, or just say like, you know the drill.
I have a great quote. First of all, thank you for having me, Beckett. Great conversation. I had a great time chatting with you in general. But being iconic is easy. Yeah, being iconic is easy. Keep doing it. Also, Hannah Dolla is on all streaming platforms with the $, not an S. I don't do the regular S. New EP coming soon in the next month. I just have not titled it yet.
Thank you guys for watching. Everybody check out Hannah Dolla if you haven't already.
Love you.
And we're all here today to groove and have a beautiful time together, and that it's only the beginning. Sometimes I think I'm drunk, and then I realize I am drunk. Sometimes I think I'm drunk, and then I realize I am drunk.